But yeah, it was 55-7.
And what's the game this weekend then?
It's Elysian.
Elysian?
Elysian.
Elysian.
Yeah.
Oakland? Okay.
Yeah. All of Richmond.
Hi, Al.
Hey.
But yeah, they're really good.
Yeah. I heard of the school before, so is it a private school?
Yeah, it's called a prep school,
Okay.
yeah.
Known for basketball.
Yeah, known for basketball,
Girls
yeah.
basketball.
And boys,
And
their
boys
boys, their boys team won state, I think,
Yes.
too. But all their basketball players play football, too. So,
It's a small school.
yeah.
Yeah, three of their women move on to NCAA schools.
So, yeah,
Division one, is that?
yeah.
So they can some really
Yeah,
excellent.
so there's like good athletes. And
That's yours.
one of the dudes my friend is starting is like 6'6". Like 200 something pounds. But then my friend's like 11. So he's.
Yeah, really humid. Yeah.
At least before the hurricane.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, they have a hurricane coming through?
And now,
Oh, it's coming, oh, I didn't hear.
yeah. But you know, what do you think?
ended up walking everywhere. It's muggy and hot.
Yeah. About 2 minutes. Is it full day?
All day.
5 days.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Weird pronunciation.
Yeah.
Sorry. Are we recording?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Call to order the regular meeting of Pleasant Hill Rec and Park District Board of Directors for September 12th, 2024. It is 7 p.m. and we are in the district office. Looking around, I'm happy to say all directors are in attendance. We can see everybody. And let's see, Director Bonanno, would you lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 3, which is public comment. And as we all know, public comment will be taken in person only on each agenda item during the meeting. Public comments may be submitted in writing. If there is public comment on agenda items, that will be when that item comes up. So we have one speaker card for public comment, and that is from Alan Bade.
Yes.
So Alan, join us.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
And Derek and I may be busy.
Yeah.
I wanted to give you a quick update about the topic that Michelle and Tom joined in a Zoom meeting regarding the Walnut Creek Watershed Council trying to get a grant to help remove the ivy at Shannon Hills. And it's from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. I tried to get Helix to get us something in writing for you before now and have not been able to do it. Claire said that they've been short staffed. She emailed me today and asked me to map out in an ArcGIS program, which I did, the area of the ivy in Shannon Hills. It came up to about I thought between about 0.6 and 0.9 acres of that ivy, which I believe that ivy has been identified as an issue that you wanted to contend with. Then she emailed me back and said, since I had taken off another site at Ellenwood that I was talking to the city about, we won't be able to engage in that site at this time. And she said, well, since you're removing that site, would you like to consider the whole park as available for this portion of the grant? And I said, yes, but the ivy is the main focus, at least I believe that would be perhaps your priority. That if it fits within the scope of the grant process, to include the whole park for invasive removal, because certainly ivy from one place can move to the other place. I'm hoping to get more definition from her this week because the grant is due September 27th. It's a $500,000 grant being split between several locations. Civic Park being one that they're working on with Mike Vickers from the city of Walnut Creek. A board member of the Walnut Creek Watershed Council, of which I am one, asked me if it would be possible to get written permission from the Park District that they would need to include in the grant application. I know that it would be probably, you would prefer to have a project description in writing prior to giving written permission to be included in the grant proposal. And I told them that, but I thought I'd let you know that that is something that they've requested for next week. So I'm hoping that we can get some more, some written materials to you. And I just really wanted to let you know, we're working on it. We haven't, I'm a go-between. I'm, a citizen trying to connect two dots. And I'm hoping that it works out because it would really be a good opportunity to get rid of that ivy prior to you either repairing or replacing any of that boardwalk area that I know is coming up in your CIP. So I know you can't really ask questions because it's a public comment rather than an agenda item, but if Michelle or Tom, you want to, we can pursue another conversation and report back to the board on. I know you have.
Yeah, you could, I'll follow up with you.
Okay,
So,
follow
yeah.
up with me. There's another board meeting right before that deadline, which is the 26th. So you need to come back to that.
Yeah, I was waiting for follow-up from them after our last meeting and I hadn't heard anything, so.
Which they had said that they were going to do the follow-up and they hadn't. I pointed that out and they're working on it now because of all the money. So just wanted to come and give the board and you guys an update on that. We'll see where it goes.
Thank you very much.
Keep our fingers crossed. I want to report back to you at some point about a watershed restoration planning process that we're engaged with the flood control district. We did a whole we're doing a whole ranking of sites all over the watershed that will be in a ArcGIS mapping program that we submit to the Regional Water Quality Control Board that they will be able to use to match grant and mitigation opportunities to. I think of particular interest could be the grant work for the Park District because there's different, mitigation has its own sets of requirements. So I'll try to update you on that. We have to get our information into the water board by November 1st. So I was all day, most of the day in a meeting regarding that. Okay, so that's pretty much sums it up.
Thank you,
I
Alan.
apologize for being nervous. I'm always sort of a nervous public speaker.
We appreciate, we really appreciate your efforts.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Let's see if we can get something done over there that would help. No matching funds.
That's good.
Okay. can't stay for the rest of the meeting. I have an Audubon board meeting.
Thank you, good to see you. All right, the public comment. We will move on to item 4, reports and presentations. And I'd like to welcome back our ex-officio teen council representative, Lila Nikolich, and she's gonna give us a report. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Okay, teen council is planning to volunteer at the Haunted Trail and the Holiday Boutique this year. And then we're also planning to have our car wash sometime this month to raise money for unhoused and foster teens. And then we're planning to try to have Battle of the Bands this year in January since it didn't work out last year. So we're gonna try to get the word going soon. And then College Park Choir has their first show of the year, Choir Cafe, on next Thursday on September 19th. It's a small show with potluck, but then they have their big Bella Notte performance on October 26th. Band has the 24th annual musician showcase on October 19th, where 500 of our students will be attending. Drama is hosting Halloween original acts from October 23rd to October 25th. And then our JV football team has had an amazing season so far, but unfortunately, the varsity team has lost their last 2 games. They play Salesian tomorrow night. On Tuesday, the girls volleyball team played Los Alamos and unfortunately did not win. However, they have a game tonight at Liberty High School, or they had a game tonight at Liberty High School at 6:30. Yesterday, girls flag football played Sacred Heart Prep. They've been dominating this season and winning all of their games. They played Alhambra today at 7:15. Girls golf played Mount Diablo yesterday and won their match. Their next match is Benicia on the 17th and Alhambra on the 19th. Girl tennis had their first practice meet against Campo and Alhambra, winning both against them. They have their first meet of the season in this Saturday at Hidden Valley Park for Ed CS Invitational. Oh wait, that was cross country actually. Tennis scrimmage Pittsburgh and had a game against Lane Valley last week. Next week they have a game against Campo. Girls water polo has their first tournament of the season this weekend, Sierra Shootout in Rockland. Boys water polo has their first game next week at Miramonte after coming out of a big weekend against first place and going 4-0 at Sierra Shootout. Thank you.
Wow. Those are a lot of busy things going on.
Mhm.
Does anybody have any questions of Lila?
I have one, I missed 2 meetings, so you may have covered this, but elections at the high school. How do those go, or are they going, or what? I'm kind of interested in the civic.
Like presidential elections?
Yeah, no.
Student body.
Oh.
People,
Student body.
candidates, proponents, that kind of thing.
Well, we did student elections like at the end of last year.
Oh.
So those were all like decided already last year. And they basically just had like a booth in the quad where people were able to like advertise like themselves, and then the students voted, and then whoever had like the most votes, like the top 2 were interviewed by like administration to be picked. So yeah.
Okay. No, I didn't realize it was last spring that happened.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Very much, Lila.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 4.2, which is our report from the general manager.
Thank you, Chair Vincent. So I included a written report in your packet. I did want to remind everyone that Tinkers and Thinkers is this Saturday from 12 to 3. I'm here at the senior center and the park adjacent to that, the park area right outside the senior center. I know that our special events coordinator Liz Harrison and Patrick Reamer have been working furiously to produce another fantastic event. It'll go fast and furious in those 3 hours, so I'm excited about that. Alan came in kind of in response to what Alan Bade said. I did have a meeting with the Watershed Council and their consultant. I was told that we were going to get some follow-up. They were looking at either our project or Walnut Creek's project. Sounds like they're planning on putting both of them in for the grant, which is exciting. One of the things is that part of our project for replacing the boardwalk was to do some removal of the ivy. So that would save us some funds if we do get that grant. So I'll follow up with Alan on that. So excited about that. And then wanted to just commend Lance in getting some major projects done at the community center. The carpets on the public side of the building, as well as fixing the columns on the outside. So the columns ended up being a little bigger project. There was some boards under there that were
Water damage.
there was some water damage, and so so we got those fixed. They look really great. So and so if you go out there, and then last, we have the DIB strategic plan implementation. We have a series of trainings for all district staff. I'm hoping that board members can find one of those sessions to go to in each of those different subjects to kind of see what staff is doing. I think that would be great. With that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions?
Well, I have a commendation. I was extremely impressed. I'm sure all of us were with the report on the summer camps. And not only did it show that there was enormous participation, but a great service to the youth and the children of our district. With all of the creativity and doing things in a way that just really attracted, scads and scads kids. So hats off to staff for all that went into that. I know there's weeks and weeks and weeks of planning ahead and everything else, but it was great to read.
I was going to second that. I really appreciated seeing the information about the volunteers as well. I thought, that was a new offering that seemed to work out really well this year. So.
A lot of interesting things going on during the summer. Anything else? Okay, we will move on to number 5, which is our consent calendar. We only have one item. The approving bills to be paid, warrants. Unless anybody has any questions, I will entertain a motion on the consent calendar.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All right, motion passes. Now move on to item 6.1. Discussion and feedback regarding proposed changes to Blues and Brews and Holiday Festival starting in 2025.
Yeah, thank you.
Michelle.
Liz, do you want to join me up here in case there's questions I cannot answer? So looking at the upcoming 2025 special event schedule, we obviously included a couple of new events in the budget that goes through June of 2025, right? So we don't have the second half of that done yet. So we looked at the schedule. Staff has looked at adding the multicultural fair and doing a number of movies, as well as potentially a Parks play day. And there's a couple of changes to a couple of longstanding events that we wanted to bring to the full board. We went to the program committee. They were generally supportive of the proposed changes, but since it was, these are two events that are that have been around for quite some time, I felt that we needed to get the input of the full board and see if we had some concurrence. First is the Blues and Brews Festival. We have looked at potentially moving that date to August from the July date. It's always been traditionally been the third week in July. Staff is recommending moving that to August for a number of different reasons, mostly for just reduce the pressure on staff. It's an all staff event. We have we have swim lessons, we have day camps, and it is a long day, long weekend for staff. And then in addition to that, also bringing it down to a one-day event again. So a number of years ago, probably about 4 or 5. Staff had started the Friday night event because we had all the equipment out there, and so we kind of have made it into a 2-day event. But are looking at going back to the 1-day event to reduce the burden on staff mostly. And then the holiday festival. So the holiday festival has been a longstanding tradition here in the district. And over the years, especially recently, the city has expanded their holiday event. And their holiday event has moved from just a tree lighting to kind of a much larger event. It has a lot of some of the same elements we do, including entertainment, the train, and they used to do a horse-drawn carriage. They don't do that anymore. And a number of the same groups that we have at our event. And so we have tried over the last few years as a staff to take the holiday festival and expand it so it wasn't so Christmas focused. And that has been a challenge. And staff would like to end that event, support the city's event, and then we would be able to have the community center would then be able to rent that space. And we would then focus on the multicultural event, which wouldn't be tied to winter holidays, and we'd open it up to a multicultural event that would happen in the spring that would celebrate lots of different things about the richness and diversity in our community. So those are the two recommendations for changes. And obviously I have a written report. We're hoping there's some discussion amongst the board and feedback to staff as to whether or not you agree or you'd like us to keep the events or move it back. We're open to feedback.
Okay, thank you. Did you want to say anything before I ask directors for any comments?
No.
All right, now is your chance. Any questions or comments? Director Glover.
Yeah, I'd be curious on a report back from the program committee on their discussion and their conversations, and if there were any additional elements that may have been provided and, that aren't here.
Sure, I can report. So Vice Chair Fran and I are part of the program committee, and we met and talked it over. I guess one of the sort of key things that we talked about with the elimination of the holiday event at the end of the year was that it was duplicative to like what the city's providing. And then being able to free up those resources to do other types of programs, and also that it is hard at that time to kind of distance yourself from just a Christmas oriented type of holiday event and get, a little bit more representation. So that was one of the key things we talked about. We talked about, moving Blues and Brews, and we understand the strain that it has on the staff during the month of July with everything else going on, getting it to a one-day event on a Saturday. I guess I will point out too that all events now will be on Saturdays instead of like a Friday evening, with the exception of maybe the Haunted Trail, which may have to fall on a different day just depending on when Halloween lands, each year. But we felt like that was a prudent decision. We thought perhaps we may actually get more attendance in August when people are coming back to school and, not necessarily traveling for the summer. We avoid some of the challenges we've had with the heat during the event as well, potentially, having cooler temperatures in August. And then I think it was suggested that as part of, moving the date, we have an opportunity now to sort of rebrand it, since we'd had feedback that it wasn't necessarily blues centric anymore. You get a variety of music and perhaps some different types of music. So we could maybe just have it, bands and brews or something a little bit more general. So it opens up an opportunity to, kind of create a little bit of a different feel to the event, but still keeping that type of offering for the district. So, and anything else you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I think you hit on the main points. I think some of the rationale of bringing it back to the full board is because these two events are the larger events, and they have sort of a tradition behind them, and there's sort of the community expectation about what it looks like, what it feels like, that type of thing. And so before changes were being made for these larger events, we wanted the board input on that. I think when we were chatting, I was generally supportive of that, all these sort of suggestions by staff. I think the one sort of thing that I wanted to hear from the board about is the holiday festival in particular, because I think my first reaction was, well, that's been kind of ongoing for some time, and even though there's some duplication in effort, at least to me, it sort of felt like a different event. I haven't gone to both of them many, many times. And, I did my informal talk to my daughter and her friends when dropping off, say, hey, what do you think about us eliminating the holiday event? And the reaction was the same one that I had. I was like, no, these are 8, 9, 10-year-olds, right? Because they themselves recognize that it is a different feel and a different event. The city event is a bunch of booths, walk down the center of the street, and yes, they have a train ride and electric lighting. It's just a different feel and a different vibe and a different sort of tradition. And I sort of got that. It's really hard to make it a neutral event during a winter holiday season, right? It's very Christian centric, and that's just part of, I think, just how the holidays are celebrated here. And so I was supportive of the idea of having something in substitution, like a multicultural event on a time of year in which we can sort of separate that out. But did want to hear sort of from the board itself what people thought about eliminating the holiday festival that has been such a part of the community, if that's something that we should be doing and trying to, I guess, support the city's event. So I think that's one of the reasons we brought it back.
Comments? Director
Are
Bernard?
we in questions or in, I got a lot of
Sure.
comments, but do we want to have questions?
Yeah,
too?
for this one, I think we can do questions and comments. So go ahead.
So a couple of clarification questions, because I think some important things came up in here that I think need some clarifications. If you go on the first line of the staff report, it says, the district hosts special events, and this is through adoption of its operating budget, the board approves expenditures to produce those events. So is it, because I think we kind of ran into this before on a previous event, is it the understanding that, I'm gonna direct this to you, sorry, that's a comment. But is it the understanding that at some point in the year, we adopt a budget? And then staff, if there's change, because I don't recall there being any, seeing a list of events that we were building a budget for. And so I guess I'm troubled by, it seems to me, maybe I'm reading this the wrong way, that the way I read this is that we adopt a budget for a set of events. And then we're done with any type of input formally, unless it's brought back forward, that staff then is just to onward and upward and go forward with that. Is that correct?
I believe that's the case, and there actually has been a presentation of all the events for this year. Because I know that Jen presented to the city, because the city donated some funds and the Rotary Club donated some funds, so there were the events for 23-24 were all laid out.
Well, for 24-25 as well, so,
Okay,
I mean, not all of them, so, the special events budget is, there's in the budget, in the line items, like Blues and Brews is spelled out, Holiday Festival is spelled out. There's a, kind of a lump for all the other special events, and then in the program description, we identified some new events, right? So, as far as the program changes, we identified a multicultural event, we identified a Bark in the Park event as part of that budget in the narrative. And so, so it's my understanding that, that what the board was adopting for 24-25, which goes to the end of June, is the traditional special events calendar plus the new things. And so that's what I presented as part of that budget. So, yeah, that's, but when there's changes like this, eliminating an event that, we haven't budgeted yet, because this is for that would be for the next budget year. For 25, we budgeted the 24 one, and we're having that, but we haven't gotten to the budget for 25-26 yet. So
These are all proposed changes for the trip, so all the other stuff in the operating budget were discussed in the finance committee and then brought to the board. So they're sort of delineated. The bigger ones, of course, had line items, and then the little teeny ones just lump sum. But these are all changes sort of in the next calendar year, fiscal year.
Right.
For 20, so then
25.
you're talking about moving from July to August, that July would still be in the 25,
right,
26,
yeah.
okay. That clears up
Yeah.
one thing. When did we receive, I don't recall, and I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I don't recall like going through, I mean, is that just included in the budget, a list of events that we then adopt? Cause I don't remember seeing that.
No, I mean, the board has never adopted a calendar of events. So we've just kind of always gone, well, these are the events we've always had, and we've
Right.
just rolled them over,
Yeah.
right? So, but when we've added events, I have in the budget process, if there was a monetary component to that, I have spelled that out. And in the program description of the changes, we're adding these two, or, we're adding these events. And so, we haven't subtracted any events since I've been here. So this is the first time that we're proposing subtracting an event from that. But both of these things would fall into the 25-26 budget year, so you haven't actually had that conversation, so.
And I may have seen the presentation either being at a city council meeting or watching it on Zoom. When I believe Jen presented, or you presented, I think Jen presented, on what the costs that they were requesting from the city, and the same thing with the Rotary Club, I believe you presented to them also.
Along those lines, later in there, it says the program committee provided feedback on the proposed calendar. What proposed calendar is that? Is that for 24-25 or 25-26?
It's for 25, it's for the year 25, and we can, the program committee didn't ask us to bring that to the full board, the dates of those, they're relatively the same. I mean, they're basically the same, other than we're adding a multicultural event.
Which I think
And so,
comment.
But I can definitely bring the entire calendar, but program committee asked us to bring these two changes specifically before we finalize the calendar.
Right, I guess that's where I'm headed with that, is that we're working two things. We said we approved a 24-25, special events budget that then kind of like, now it's go with it. But then at the same time, we're like, but we're gonna, you all had a conversation about a 25 calendar, which is still in the 24-25.
Spans a little bit of both.
Yeah, but that wasn't brought back here. I mean, so anyways, okay, that's all I have on that, I'm sure. I think was your intent to take these one by one, or to go?
You can, however, if you wanna talk about Blues and Brews or Holiday, that's okay, either one.
Well, if we want to jump into Blues and Brews.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so you made because that was one of the questions I had about the length of time that we had the Friday night event. Because my recollection is a lot more in the last 4 or 5 years. It goes back a while. Like, I mean, how long have we been having the event, Blues and Brews?
It's about 10 years now.
No, more than
The
that.
first one was during the construction of the new teen center. which was-
13
years.
Yeah.
So 13 years, yeah. And my recollection is that Friday night event started about like,
Probably 10 years ago.
yeah.
Was it 10 years?
If not more than that. So
Okay.
to me, it's already got the establishment, like a 2-day event. Have we received and maybe I missed this too, I apologize. Have we received a recap of this year's event and how we did,
No,
like,
we have not.
attendance? Okay. I'm just gonna straight up, to me, it's premature to even have a discussion about this without having that information in front of us, but I will defer to my fellow board members, because there's so many questions I have, because to me, everything I saw was fantastic. Staff did a great job. It was knocked it out of the park, so that's where I go, and I highlighted this, I mean, it's just moving the date to May.
May.
It's just so, I'm gonna leave, I don't have no further comments or questions on Blues and Brews.
Director Bonanno?
Yeah, my first instinct is to go back and look at the evolution of the event, the same way that you did, and the conversations that have come to the board, going back to when Bob Bergeron was chair, and Katrina, is Katrina here? No, Katrina's not here. Would present us with the financials that you're talking about. This event originally was a collaboration with the chamber. And the intent was to do a revenue share, so it was a fundraiser for the chamber as well as for us. After 3-4 years, I would guess, that kind of disintegrated because of first of all, the 80-20 split or something. The last thing that I remember was about an 80-20 split. The revenues from Blues and Brews were so small that it wasn't worth the chambers. I mean, it was, you know, they made $1,000 or $2,000 on it, and we made maybe $5. I mean, it was very small considering the cost. So I'm right in line with you about looking at what the budget is versus the number of hours that staff is being asked, you know, to put into all of this. And believe me, I don't think we should withhold an event from the public because of a financial consideration. We're doing well enough as a district that we can afford to put on events and not have them be moneymakers. So that's really not the issue so much as, I mean, I think it's a consideration, but it's not to me as big an issue. There were years when people around this table felt that we ought to discontinue the event altogether, that it was too much of an impact on staff. There were so many other competing events in Antioch and Pittsburgh and Concord and Walnut Creek with very much the same theme. Martinez, I think, has one as well. And so there was a sense that it was sort of not unique type of an event any longer. It's a great deal of fun, and we do get a pretty good crowd out for it. But I also think we've done some demographics about where people have come for this event, and they haven't necessarily come heavily from Pleasant Hill. They've come from East County, as I recall, from the last sort of things that we've been looking at. So to the extent that would support continuing an event that is heavily impactful on staff, and we're trying to look at it globally right now. I'm not sure that it is one that really, I mean, I need to see some data to see whether this is really one that benefits, a lot of people in Pleasant Hill. I'm not saying we should stop it, and I guess the other consideration is, and I'm along with you, Bobby, I've not seen a list of everything that we're doing. And it seems to me that maybe we're adding things like lobster fests and, movie nights and, other things like that, maybe we're breaking the camel's back here without giving Liz more staff support, an assistant or something to be able to do that many special events in a district the size of ours. I don't know. But it's really hard to evaluate whether this is one that we should reduce, one that we should keep. And, with all those considerations, when I don't know whether in part, the problem is because we're asking staff to do so many other things as well. So I guess I'm looking as Bobby is for a little more data before knowing really what to do with my vote on this anyway.
Yeah, and I think to me to just supplement, the financials, that wasn't the component I was actually interested in. It was more the demographic information. Jen did a fantastic job last year providing all that information on, a majority of people do come from Pleasant Hill, I mean, there is a small part of it. Yeah, they come from out.
Right, and I had it backwards.
I mean, we have a large, depending on Saturday or Friday, and then the amount of tickets that are sold. I mean, these were, and this is what's frustrating to me. It's like, I feel like, you all threw the kitchen sink last year, like 2 to 3 times on why, I'm tired. Like, I'm tired of fighting for something that it seems like you all don't want. And it's just the frustrating thing for me as a board member is that it's just everything that you all brought last year to try to eliminate this. We came back and we had, I think, reasonable comments on, and then the goalpost shifted and it was a different set of things. And it was like, and it's just, the fact that now the number one reason to switch this event from July, from the success that it's had, especially the last couple of years, from July to August and 2 days to 1 day may help lift some of the struggles with participating breweries not being able to staff a booth or having conflicts with their events at their establishments. That's the first thing of 2, and it's just, the booths were staffed. I don't know how they got staffed, if it was volunteers or whatever, but it's like, that wasn't brought up before, that wasn't in it, it's just I feel like if we move this to another, if we push this another meeting, it's gonna be other things, and that's just my own frustration. It's an editorial, it's a comment. I'm just getting tired. If you all don't, even when we had the conversation about it being staff intensive, it's always been staff intensive. We get that, it's hot. We understood that and we talked about that, and yet we still fell on, and I thought that the recommendation was that there were ways to address that. And to Sandy's point, it may be lightening up other things to allow, staff to do that. And quite frankly, importantly, where we also felt was that it hit a demographic that we didn't represent. And I remember that in the staff report. I don't know what the age was, but again, that was part of the report that we received. That was the whole, what was the ethnic makeup of attendees? I mean, we received all that information before, and we were able to make an educated decision. And I struggle with this time on two levels. One, I don't think I have enough information to make a decision. And two, I just feel like I'm fighting a battle. I don't want to fight you all. You all are fantastic, and it's just, I'm getting worn out here, but in my opinion, I don't feel that the rationale that's being provided warrants elimination of this event. And that's my own opinion.
Well, go ahead.
I might like to comment, it's not like, we're eliminating it, we're just changing the date. And in my perspective, although I haven't been as a board member as long, I felt like we make a change, and check to see how it works out. It's not as if we can't revert, it's not like, we can go back and, bring it back to July. I figure give some flexibility to staff to try some different things, see, how it works. And then, if it's a bomb, then, we need to reevaluate. So I was kind of the opinion, like, it's not set in stone, and we, want to give opportunity for a little bit more creativity around the planning of the event.
And I can understand that. And I would throw back too, that it's the may concept. It may work, it may not. And I mean, it's hard. I wish I had the staff reports from the previous meetings, because it was like, that was actually brought, if we moved it, then what? Because, we didn't want to move it to certain points because it might compete with other events. And we were worried about it competing in July, but then that wasn't the case. And it's just, we're just throwing stuff. I feel like we're just coming up with, reasons to not have it in July and not have a 2-day event. And I don't support that, but I understand what you're saying. I don't think that it's something that we want to, start playing around with. We've got a, solidified date. Mine would be if we moved it, somebody else slides in there and does stuff. But again.
Well, the recommendation here is requesting that we discuss it and also provide feedback. And I think that's what we're doing. We're not making any decisions tonight.
This is under action.
It is under action items, but the recommendation
But so that
is
we can have a discussion.
to have a discussion and provide feedback. So that's our action. And that's what we're doing. I would like to see the data on our Blues and Brews from July of 2024. I think that's a report that we need to have. And
Can I request that we also go back a year or two and have a package of information so we can see some trends?
is that that should be something that we can get.
Yeah, we
I
have
mean, they have it.
cumulative data.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. That would be a good thing to have. Moving the date, I don't have super strong feelings. This is just my comments for now on moving it to August. I was very much involved in the chamber event, the Art, Wine and Music that was in the first weekend in October for many, many years. And then all of a sudden, I think this was after COVID, when it came back, it was brought to May. And my thing was then, what are we doing? What are we doing? There's too many events that we're going to compete with. Well, that event has done very well. I don't know about dollar wise, but as far as attendance, that has been a well-attended event. I think this year, Blues and Brews, with the changes that were made with the beer tent and the VIP and the this and the that, I thought it went really well. But it's kind of, yeah, I think if there's been discussion about making those kinds of changes, you know, we're giving our input, and I think what we would like as a board is to see the data from certainly July 2024, and if we can get the comparison to the last couple of years, that would be helpful. So that we can have a further discussion on it, because we do have time. This is not, you know, I know you like to get things going. You can't, you know, wait until January, so hopefully this can come back in the near future at one of our upcoming meetings. If nobody has any questions on Blues and Brews, do you have any comments? Do you have any Blues and Brews comments?
Not any more than what everybody's saying. I think that's sort of one of the reasons why I wanted to bring it back. I think
Yeah.
I'm sort of ambivalent as that to sort of changing the date, saying, well, if the staff feel that changing the date would be helpful for them, I'll sort of defer to that expertise. And like Derek said, they're not necessarily eliminating it, it's just sort of moving, shifting it over. To Bobby's point, like this, you know, switching sort of the big component of it from 2-day to a 1-day event, or having some sort of character change of the actual event itself is something that probably should be discussed. And I'm glad that everybody sort of gave their opinion on that. So I agree with sort of bringing it back and let sort of staff think it through, and then sort of bring it back with more information and data like Chris was requested. I think would be helpful for us.
And that would include, one of the questions I had was, would the family area that, I think last year it was on Friday night, and this year I think it was on Saturday, if I recall. So that, because that's only been the last 2 years or 3 years? 2, I think.
First time.
Yeah, okay. That would be good to know what that would encompass. Does anybody have any specific holiday festival comments?
Before we leave Blues and Brews, could we also ask Liz perhaps to have some input about what it is that she's experiencing and what her needs are, and whether there are alternatives to what's being proposed here?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, I don't, you know, I know it's an impact on staff. I know this is Liz's second, because I think you started one day before the last one, or maybe the day after the last one. And so now that you've got, you know, one under your belt, the proposal is to, you know, move it and reduce it in number of days. Are there other ways that you can envision that this 2-day event could go on? And if so, what would that take? So, you know, what is it that's mostly impacting? And, you know, what could the board perhaps do to help support an alternative?
Well, and we can definitely include that. This year in the budget, we did include some part-time staff, so we're gonna build the events team up. So we're in the process of doing that. But you know, Blues and Brews and the Holiday Festival are two events that impact the entire organization. So we require every employee we have to work those events. And so there have to have some extenuating circumstances to not work. So that's all full-time staff. And so Liz has gotten, you know, feedback from staff that it impacts them. So it's not special event staff, it's the staff, the other staff that doesn't normally work special events that have to work this one special event. Not that we can't continue to do that, or, you know, looking at other options, but we can definitely provide that information as well.
I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, it's good to know that we're beefing up Liz's team.
Any specific holiday festival questions or comments?
Oh, I'm with Quee's daughter. You know, I've been thinking about this all day long, and to me, it unfortunately, it's caused me to kind of question the direction of the district. That staff would bring this this one event to the board and recommend that we stop it. It has been around for decades. It has showcased our community center. It has showcased the facilities that our public supports. It's for the children in our community. And every year that I've been chair, I have publicly told people and announced from a microphone that this is a gift from our staff to the children of Pleasant Hill. It's so, to me, very, very different from what's going on down at the Crescent. It's a newer event. We were kind of ticked off to begin with that they were, doing something that looked like they were competing with us. But there's no shortage of people coming to our event and coming to the Crescent. It's not like they're taking all of our folks and, and nobody's coming to our event, to our party. It's indoors. There's so many more things you can do indoors. It is part of an activity, a celebration of the holidays. And I guess I'm not buying this, it's all about Santa Claus and Christian stuff. Winter Wonderland is a wonderful theme. It's pandemic. I just understand the rationale for why that would be difficult to achieve. It's a warm, loving embrace of our community. It's just, for me, it's emblematic of the spirit of our district.
So I came with a list of questions that all pertain to, I think important information would be, when has the holiday festival been, and when has, it seems that the city's event has moved closer and closer, and we've been here. Can we, some information on that, I think would be helpful to see, because I think that being able to show the city, like, hey, buddies, you're encroaching on this. I also do fall where I don't think it matters. There was a sentence in here that, and maybe it was just semantics, but the sentence, like the fifth or sixth line down, that said, staff has struggled trying to be more inclusive of other cultural holidays. And I'm like, does that mean that we're having trouble coming up with ideas? Or I don't, to me, I think that needs, like, I don't understand what that means.
Well, can I answer
Sure.
the question?
Please.
We've received feedback that, and it's been a number of years that we have attempted to expand it beyond the Christmas focus that it has been, to try to include other cultural events that happen in December specifically, right? So because it's a winter event. So, we've done some things, like one year, we had a room where, we asked people to write what their holiday traditions were, and, try to, highlight that. We've gotten feedback from participants and people that, that it wasn't enough. And so, and part of it is just us learning, like we struggle. And so, it's like trying to find the right people in our community to help us create activities that showcase those other cultures and those other holidays. It's difficult, and without being insensitive, and without, being, to the point of where it's just, we're trying to do something just to be inclusive. So we're trying to be authentic about it. And part of it is we just don't have that expertise. We're trying to find it, and we've struggled with that. And I think the biggest part is the staff really wants to be authentic with that. And so, I think, last year, didn't we do a dreidel? That we did that later. Yeah, and so, and so it's just, trying to find some things and some people, and we've recently, I've recently, have some people that I've hooked up with Liz, that hopefully this year we can be a little bit more successful with that. But that's kind of the struggle. And then we also get feedback from, staff and other people that, well, you're changing this event by adding these other cultures, and that's not what this event is. And so it's when there's longstanding tradition, you know, there's some expectation that you don't change anything. And then when you start changing things, then some people don't like that. Some people who are newer to the community or appreciate it because they haven't been here for 25 years and haven't been at that event. And so, you know, and so we have newer staff and, you know, who bring new ideas and, you know, trying to evolve the event. And so without changing the spirit of it is, you know, sometimes difficult.
So a comment to that would be, and this is why, with the same thing with Blues and Brews, it's like, if we're gonna change it, and you say we've been changing it over the last couple of
Yeah,
years, it's been evolving.
Sure.
Obviously, you know, and much warranted and needed. And so that would seem to me that if people, like you say, are upset about it, then attendance would dive down. And you know, like, I mean, I don't know, are we seeing that? I don't know, like, if we're, I mean, you're nodding your head, yes, but I have no information that says anything. And to the contrary, you know, I hear people talk about how awesome an event it is. So to me, it's like you talk about, we got new staff, we've got new, you know, like new people are fired up to do this. We've got our DEI policy. And yet all this says right here is, oh man, the city's getting too close to us and they're doing some stuff. So we give up. And that's not how I am. If there's resources that we need to be, I don't want to rely on the city to be the DEI, you know, like expert here. I think we've got the power, the staff, the team to do it. If we need more resources, then let's get that. Let's make it authentic and let's make it awesome. You know, like I'm not worried about it changing the flavor by adding new authentic, you know, things to it. But to me, this just screams like, you know, we give up. And I'm not like, I agree. I came here, this was always like, and I've got that component, but to me, this just screams like we quit. You know, and we're not quitters here. Like, we're better than that.
To that point,
Sure.
yeah,
Go ahead.
the last time that I was chair, met with the mayor and the vice mayor, and I believe you were there too. I had a special item put on the agenda for that liaison committee meeting. To have the opportunity to, I hope gently, prod the mayor to respect the fact that we are separate, that our event is important to us, and that we collegially need to look at each other's calendars better. For years and years, we did that. And I think this is just sort of emblematic of a weakening of relationship somewhat. But I got the very same feeling, Bobby, that you did, that this was almost like, okay, we're gonna move over and let the city be more important than us. And that got my dander up too. But also, you know, there's a little sense of, you know, disrespect, I suppose, that, you know, I don't quite know what to do about, other than to talk with the city about it. But you know, the chamber is a third party here as well. You know, we have to work with them to make sure that our events aren't impinging on theirs and vice versa. So I mean, it's a three-corner conversation that we need to have. And if there isn't respect, then I agree with you. We don't say, okay, you win. Our event is unique. It's different than theirs.
I don't agree that this came across, it did not come across to me as something that we were giving up. It came across to me that it was a potential change, not something it was proposing to be eliminated, but that's why it's here on the
It
calendar.
says it, the proposal will make. it
Right.
2024.
We'll make it the last one. That's a proposal.
That's it.
That's a proposal.
They were talking about eliminating.
That's true, but I don't think it's from a standpoint of giving up. I think it's being looked at with different lenses, which I'm willing to hear about. I may not agree with it in the end, but I don't mind listening to, you know, and we can get more data on what happened with this holiday festival. I believe we may have gotten a report on that after I.
Well, we did in the holiday festival. We don't keep attendance, there's not really
Okay, we
attendance.
do that.
But there were less people at this past holiday
Okay.
festival than there were, I mean, you could move around in the community center.
Yeah.
You hadn't been able
Yeah.
to do in the past. But-
And I think, and was it on a Friday?
No, it's always on a Wednesday.
It's on a Wednesday. Okay, so now it's gonna be, even this year, is it gonna be on Saturday?
It'll still be on a Wednesday.
Still be on a Wednesday, okay.
We haven't wanted to, so the community center is very popular in December.
Right.
And so taking up a Saturday is
Again.
not something that we have wanted to
Yeah.
do to give up that revenue.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, this has been something, I mean, I've been attending this for probably 35 years. If it's been going that, I know it's been going that long. From the old community center to the new community center. Last year was the first time that I thought, to me, it was, why is the city doing what they were doing for their event? And I know its focus is more downtown. But I had the feeling that, gee, we've got these two events. But I don't recall, did it rain last year? I can't remember. But I always liked it at the community center because we had the outdoor things but we could move in. And for a while, I think the rain was coming down. Maybe that was last year, the rain was coming down, but we were able to go in and then everything, was glistening with the raindrops, and it was a beautiful event. I would have a hard time supporting eliminating that. I would like to see if there are other things, if we're trying to be more inclusive of other cultural holidays for that holiday / winter festival, that we do that. I'm sure you've already been working on that and trying to figure out, what would be the best thing. And if there's any other information that you can give us, or you can provide that now, just if we don't have the same kind of reports that we do for Blues and Brews. If there's any comments that Liz or Jen have, that would be good.
Liz has gone through an entire year of special events. So did you want to talk about kind of some of the reasons that, we're looking at making changes?
Yeah, I think just specific to the holiday festival, we've kind of already touched on it. It's really hard to detach from Christmas for that time of year. There's an expectation that Santa's there, there's Christmas trees, and especially with it being a long-standing event and tradition for the district, there are some kind of, there's some staple features about it. Michelle mentioned like changing it kind of causes the other issue of people not wanting change to that tradition. Not a cultural, excuse me, my throat is really dry. I'm not a cultural expert, and I'm not pretending to be. And I think that in order to incorporate other cultures at this event, it would involve outside participation, and that's not something that you can force. It would have to be willing participation. Otherwise, again, to the authenticity of it, where we can have, and also there's only select cultures that celebrate during that time of year. So it's really not, thank you. It's really not inclusive of all cultures in the way that the multicultural event, which was what we proposed, the multicultural event that could take place in spring that's detached from the winter holiday season, that we really can celebrate a variety of cultures. So that was kind of the main reason why we were talking about it, at least for the holiday festival, was the DEI initiatives that I feel like are really important to the district and really important to the community. And the direction that we should be moving forward is detaching from Christmas, in my opinion. And I don't, again, I'm not an expert in how to do that without the influence of outside groups.
Can I request, I'm assuming this is gonna come back.
Yeah.
Right? Can we request a list of the holidays by different cultures taking place like throughout the year? Cause in my mind, I'm just thinking, I mean, even if you went from September to February or some type of, or even narrowed it down from October to January. I don't know, like how many of those there are. I also, I think it's a further conversation. I've never thought of it as the Christmas festival, it's the holiday festival. I don't see a problem with incorporating other, I think that's the beauty of this and the opportunity that we have and that we should be taking. And I think that only improves the quality of event that we have. I'm not opposed to doing, I don't think we just pick one. I think we can do multiple ones. But to me, this isn't a Christmas event, it's a holiday event. And it should incorporate as many holiday, that time of year cultures that participate and have, things that they recognize. And I think with just as I said this with the DEI initiative, it's like, we gotta be deliberative. Like, we can't just sit back and say, we can't.
Somebody's unhappy.
We can't get people from the AAPI community in because, so we should just not do anything. No, we need to go seek out those groups and find those people and get them involved. And it's like the same thing with other groups. And it's just, I think you need the resources. I think you're fantastic. Quite frankly, I think you're amazing. I'm more lucky you're here. I just think you need resources. And I think that's something that I would like to see that rather than, you don't have the resources to do all these things and you don't have, I think, I want you to knock it out of the park. And I think you're the right person to do. So.
And we had, I know during COVID, didn't we have the around the world?
Yeah, we did, yeah, during our drive-through event,
Yeah,
yeah, we had a scrolling list. Jen has a list of all of the holidays throughout the year.
Yeah.
She made a very nice PowerPoint that scrolled during when we snarled traffic all the way back, all the way to 680, yeah. So yeah, that was a very successful event. But yeah, and there is, and even since, we've been talking about this for a little while, even since, kind of we came to the program committee, I've made some contacts with, the Black Families Coalition that is interested in helping with Kwanzaa. And so there are ways to do it. And to your point, Bobby.
Consultants that, they would have some.
Well, I mean, it's just hard. We're trying to get, we just don't have a lot of those connections here locally at this point in time. So, but we're working on it. But to your point, it's called the Holiday Festival, but it's only been about one holiday.
Sure.
Till recently. So yeah, and so
that's fair.
and so just as much as, the community is steeped in tradition, our staff is steeped in tradition as well. So when I remove one thing, they're like, well, what about that? And, so it's a delicate balance. But, we appreciate the feedback and know that this is I wasn't here when this was created. I've heard about it from tales, I've only been here 8 years. Ben's been here 35. So this is one of the reasons why we're getting feedback.
Yeah. No, I think that's important, and I appreciate this coming up. Jen?
I just wanted to ask, so I've been here for 10 years, lived in the community since 1998. My kids went to a holiday festival. I've been involved with events from marketing, and then now I'm more involved here. So the traditions, I like the traditions, I like what we do, but when we have somebody come in, we're trying to look at things from a big picture, and it's really hard because we're focusing just on 2 events. And I'm asking, would it be helpful to see kind of the whole calendar and the vision of what we're looking at? Because we're not just going, well, we're just going to give up and, do that. There's actually a really kind of we're trying to be mindful of different things. There's reasons why we're suggesting these things. It's not just we're trying to, because the competition's getting stiff and we're getting up. No, there's very thoughtful reasons and strategic reasons why we're making the plans that we are. I love our traditional events, but Liz has come in and I'm trying to be open-minded and listen to what she says. And I'm really excited about what she's talking about. And in my mind, I think about I look at the holiday festival and I'm like, what is it about that we like so much about that event? It's offering something to the community. It's bringing families together. is it possible to do those things with another event? Parks Make Life Better in July, where it's truly about recreation and bringing all our, staff together and showcase all the great things that we're doing in the park. In the morning, we incorporate the pool, and it's bringing community together in the park. And that's kind of what, in my mind, our vision of the event should be, is like, we want to bring people in our parks to play, and in our facilities, yes, as well, but our facilities are limited. And as the crowds get bigger and bigger in our facilities, the events lose their, it loses something, because it's no longer fun. You're like fighting crowds, you're standing in line for, an hour to see one feature, and it kind of diminishes the experience. And we're about creating good experiences for our participants that come to our event. And that's kind of the issue with facilities. Events like Tinkers and Thinkers, where it's inside, outside, it's great because you have the flexibility to be both inside and outside in a time frame where you don't have to worry about rain, yes, or smoke and all these other things. But I'm just sharing some of the details because we're looking at the big picture. We're looking at the whole year, what we're offering, who we're offering it to, what demographic we're trying to reach, because we are trying to diversify and not just, have youth events. We're trying to capture adults, dog lovers, multicultural events. So we're trying to be very mindful. So it's not just like we're just cutting these events because we don't like doing them. I love a holiday festival, and Blues and Brews, it's just one of those events we've always done, and it is a thing, but is it the right event? We're asking the questions, and just how can we create an event calendar that may look very different? And if we're so stuck in our traditions, we will never make those changes. And we have somebody here on our staff that is able to do that. And yes, we need resources. We're planning that to support her, but I'm really excited about her ideas and where she's going. We just have to be careful that we're not like so steeped in our traditions, because I love those traditions just as much as anybody. My kids went to them, I love them, but I'm willing to think beyond that and say, okay, what else can we do? So would it be helpful to the board to see kind of like the overall picture?
Yes,
See,
definitely.
To me, this is the conversation that we should have had. Like, instead of what you just said, and you raised a bunch of questions
Yeah.
that weren't even a part of this.
Yeah.
And you asked questions about, is this the right event? Is this the thing? All we got was the city's moving their event closer to ours. We don't have the resources to to make it, to reach out to people, and the beer vendors are busy like that time. Like, I mean, we got three things. You just talked about a whole picture of everything. So to answer your question, I mean, yes, that would be extremely helpful. And I know, to me, that's like a retreat kind of, I mean, we could do it in a meeting, but that's a lot. What you just went through was a lot. That's a lot of information, but you mentioned demographics, you mentioned, resources, you mentioned all these things that weren't a part of this, one-page presentation. So to me, what you just said absolutely would be fantastic, in my opinion.
And
I think there's a place for tradition too, though. And I just want to underscore that, that's kind of where, I found myself responding to your beautiful comments and your praise for your colleague and what she brings to us. But I'm also not willing to throw deep tradition away. Yeah.
But another comment, and this would be a part of a bigger conversation, is like, maybe look how to change the traditions, but not eliminate them, but make them better. And I think, and maybe it is eliminating, I don't know, but like, I just.
well, we know there have been changes to both those events. Not that, there's been changes, especially over the past couple of years. So, but we're talking a different type of change based on this. But I think from this discussion that has occurred tonight, that I know Michelle's been taking copious notes, and I think you've heard our concerns, I think, well articulated by Director Glover and Director Bonato. I think the program committee did a good job in listening I think as much as it may be frustrating not to have the data that we're going to get before, you know, sometimes you have to have these conversations like this, and then we'll get that information so that we can make a, at least give you a better informed decision on those things from our perspective. So are we good with?
Yeah, no, we'll come back with a more conversation, in that conversation.
Okay.
So,
But we do appreciate both of your efforts. I know it's not easy. I've seen all of the people sitting back here at various events, working their tails off. But yes, know that we are here. If we need more resources, we need to work to get you more resources. So we'll see, give us more information. And we'll see, you know, we'll have another discussion about this. Thank you. Okay, anything else on this? Did you have a last comment?
No, I think it's just looking at everything in a bubble is a different conversation.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good idea. Thank you, Liz. All right. Let's see, now. Lance, you're coming up, we've got the SIP budget for 2025.
anybody want a hard copy?
Yes, please.
Oh, you got a large one?
Yeah.
All right, so you printed it. I've got my little ones, but okay, I'll take one if there's.
Yeah, sure. I already looked at it. so you
Okay.
can-
Oh, here, I think I've got this. I can read it without my glasses.
I don't need it. I looked at it earlier.
You don't have glasses on.
Okay.
Tonight, we're just moving forward, or we're asking the board to adopt the 2024-25 capital improvement program budget. And so this is, just to kind of wrap up our final, portion of our 24-25 budgeting process. And so on this, I only have 3 years right now because we're not sure about the bond measure and all of that, so we didn't go out the full 5 years at this point in time. Both the Land and Facilities Committee looked at the list of projects and timing based on scope, and then the Budget Committee looked at the full budget on the budget numbers. So we have enough funds in the fund balance of the CIP as of in our initial numbers that we're finalizing now to pay for the fiscal year 24-25 CIP. So I'm happy to report that. In addition to the fund balance that we have that's listed in the staff report, we also are going to get about $200,000 from the state once the Roger Smith Park restroom is complete. So we'll get some reimbursement from that. Lance is here to answer any questions about budget and or scope if anybody has any of those questions. I did want to point out that there is a new project that is a collaboration with the city. It's a generator, adding a generator to both the public service center and the community center. That'd be a project that would service both buildings. The city would manage that project, and then we would pay for 50% of that. It's a way for us to get a generator for the community center, which could be used as an emergency shelter and or cooling center or anything like that. And I've talked with the city manager, and he will allow us to pay. He will recommend to his council that we pay it over 3 years, so we would not owe that lump sum all at one time, but to pay it off in over 3 years. So that is.
Shows that on.
Yes, it's on the back page. Yeah.
Or one of the last.
Yeah, it's the second to last item. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Anybody have any questions of Lance? Go ahead.
It seems to me, Michelle, there are a couple things on here that were added since our meeting. Some of them are reflective of comments that Derek and I had. But forgive me, I don't recall that we were presented with $1 million for the HVAC for the senior center.
So the Land Facilities Committee was not presented with any budget numbers. You couldn't look at budget, and I couldn't have the budget committee look at budget. So the Land Facilities Committee specifically only looked at scope. And then the budget committee looked at budget. Okay, so
part of our discussion this evening is going to be, now that we're putting the two together, whether we're supportive of that.
right, correct, yeah. Now that you're putting them two together. And I can talk on that. So that's an estimate. And so I needed to put a number in there. I mean, it's gonna be an expensive fix. We had talked about, and we're still looking at an opportunity to get some solar that might also do that project. But that project is on hold at this point in time because there's some financing involved. And if we're going to get our bond measure, I don't want to finance anything until after that. So I just put a number in there so that it shows that, okay, we understand that we need to do this project. And we can put less in there. But about $1 million is, I think, what is gonna take to fix that and add the HVAC in the kitchen, which does not have HVAC. It only has a swamp cooler.
So by approving whatever we approve this evening, if we approve this, we're making a commitment in advance of having really that information.
You're only approving the first column, fiscal year 24-25. So you're not approving the million. Those are projected numbers for
But
future.
there's still $60,000
of design.
What is that, consultant?
Design, yes. And that would help us get a true number of what it would cost us to do.
So if we did everything in fiscal year 25, that would leave us with about 1.3. And then right now or 1.6.
Yeah, 1.6.
So we need an additional 500,000 into to cover the next year. If everything stayed.
Right. And our number wouldn't include anything that at the end of the year that we might move over to capital.
Right.
So this is,
Right. I just think I appreciate everybody's efforts, and it's worth noting that the Pleasant Oaks Park shade structure.
It's still on there.
It's
The last component of
it's the picnic, but
Yeah.
what's not on here is the shade structure for the playground.
It is.
It's on the back. It's on the back.
All right, Sandy. put it on.
21, second from the top.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just think that's significant. That was kind of one of the last things that we mentioned with Measure E.
Wanted to get that.
Yeah.
Carried over.
Yeah. It's been on there for a while.
It has been. Wayne says new goal is to get 100% of the CIP done for next year. That's he just offered that up as a goal for next year to get 100% of the projects done.
All right.
It's ambitious. I mean, something's carried over, to this year, so.
Well,
Yeah.
like the chairs we've already ordered,
Mhm.
but we haven't spent the money yet because they're like 4 months out.
William manages that better than his fantasy football team.
And have we had the robot here?
Right
We did
now.
have everybody here.
Yeah. And it worked really well. It worked really well.
I'm very excited about it.
Just a comment from finance and budget, I do the same thing every time I see these things. I always sort of highlight or circle any numbers that just seem big. And so that the $1 million was one that sort of stuck out as me, even though that's in the FY26. And there are a couple others as well that sort of stick out. But in terms of that discussion about these bigger numbers, all the numbers are general, just bigger because we're just in that era of it and more inflation. But at least when I asked that question, as I sort of said, he's getting better at the estimation as well as we sort of get closer and closer and get more and more familiar with that. that as we get better at it, the numbers get actually a little bit more accurate and they just reflect sort of the real reality of that it's gonna cost money to do a lot of this stuff. And at the same time, part of the discussion as well, yes, it'll cost money. But I think it was viewed as sort of real investments and a reflection of the what the work the staff has done in sort of planning that we are actually able to invest, right? Not every district or municipality is able to at this juncture. Many of them are sort of looking at the opposite, where they're saying, where do we need to cut, right? What do we need to save because we're in deficit? And so this type of investment, I think, is important, even if the numbers are looking a little bit bigger. Even though I think, myself, it sounds like maybe sensible. Sometimes it gives us a little bit of a upset stomach, but I think it's important that we demonstrate to the community that, we're entrusted with funds, we're entrusted with resources, that we actually deploy them for the benefit of the community. And so this to me actually reflects that investment and that philosophy.
I'd agree 1000% with you, except that the looming vote that makes me nervous to make commitments like this before we know whether the voters are going to support. And I'm just putting myself in the mindset of the day after the election. If it's not successful, would we still feel the same way about all of these items? I don't know the answer. I agree with you completely that to have the resources to keep our facilities pristine, to know that the community center is going to be kept in the jewel that it is, all of those things are very important to me. I'm just a little queasy about moving ahead before November 6th. Anyway,
These
I
numbers,
just want to share that with you.
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, Michelle, these numbers though are with or without bond, right? These are.
These are.
So regardless of November, win or lose, these are investments in what we currently have now. And so it's investment in what our current resources are. Now, if November comes around and a different situation comes in which we have a different pot of resources, that can be a conversation as well too.
If I might add, I wanted to say, I hear what you're saying, about the hesitation here to look at this and approve it, but I also feel like the voters are kind of expecting, well, what is it that you're currently doing, with the CIP? Are you making, those types of investments to improve the facilities? Or are you just kind of waiting for the community to bail you out, or not necessarily in that situation, but, I felt like it's demonstrating that, we're using our CIP wisely and investing in the things that need to get done.
And I agree with you 1000% there too. It's just that on November 6th, if our vote isn't successful, I'm wondering if we need to reevaluate this, or we would be reevaluating this because our priorities may change. We have a lot of things that we need to do, not just these things. Some of them are pretty big ticket. We've got bell fields to build. We've got the old schoolhouse to deal with. We've got some big ticket items here that we can address if the voters support us. But if not, then are we really committing right now, to do some of these things? Anyway, I'm just sharing with you that I have some queasies. I've also got my cranky pants on tonight. And my cranky pants are telling me that this is a great plan. These are all things that I could support. But for the last 2 years, I've sat on land and facilities, and our CIP program has not been completed. As it's been proposed, it has not been completed. And every year I suggest, tell us ways in which we give you the resources that you need in order to complete these things on time. It's been 2 years now that we've had this Roger Smith restroom replacement. And, there's always a reason why, there's always a reason. So I guess I want some assurance that we are giving you the resources, Michelle, and Lance, and your commitment to get these things done, that they will get done, and that we're giving you not only these yeses on these dollars, but yeses on what you really need to succeed so that we can show the public that we're spending their money wisely. It's an extraordinary frustration I have, that we haven't been able to make more progress in the last 2 years with our CIP program.
We've made quite a bit of progress. Lance is gonna give a first quarter report for the end of the year and first quarter, at either your next meeting or the 10th, or your first meeting in October. So we did quite a bit. Some things are outside of our control, like, ordering the chairs. Place the order, it's gonna take 12 weeks to get here. So, that's, so there are some things that, that come up, but, we hear you, and, yeah, we'll definitely give a report on those things, so.
Michelle, we haven't seen the security consultants report yet.
They're coming in October, so.
Okay. Anyway, there's stuff here that has to do with security. And the bathroom in Roger Smith Park was going to be the first thing that we were going to do in conversations with the security team about how we're going to protect that building.
Well, the Roger Smith bathroom went out to bid, and it came back, we had bid issues, and so we had to reject those bids. And so we're.
I understand, there's lots of reasons.
Yeah.
The longer we wait, the more expensive it gets, and it's just. I've said my piece.
Does anybody have any other comments?
Well, I had maybe a comment, in regards to what you had said about the CIP. It is a lot to take on, and there isn't any sort of prioritization of the various projects. I mean, they're all just kind of lumped together. Perhaps it might help to think about, which items would be, the priorities, if we are to, work through this list, and not just random order, or, based on what we can or can't do for whatever reasons, that maybe spend a little time to, identify which ones would be of utmost priority to accomplish, if we have to. And perhaps there's elements that could potentially be deferred if they're not necessarily, of the highest priority.
Along those lines, Lance has done in the past a wonderful job of giving us a month by month breakdown of what would happen when, I think this month, it might be quarters. No, it's month. So that I think would allow the Land and Facilities Committee, however it's composed next year, to really be able to monitor it, to make sure that we have the progress that we're expecting, and that staff has an opportunity to ask for more resources in order to keep to the schedule. So prioritizing and also doing a flow chart.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said. I think, having the goal, we've already heard, Lance wants to get everything done, and, I do think we need to compliment ourselves and the team. I remember this list back, 10 years ago. I think it went out 5 years, and everything just kept shifting because we had no money, and and then we started getting money, and I do think that in the last 4 or 5 years, if you look at the amount of money that we've spent on the CIP program, because an easy thing to lob from the sidelines from people is to say, well, live within your means and pay for the projects that you can pay for, and I think we can show that we have done that, especially in the last several years. And so I see this as a lofty. I agree. Having the $1 million item on there with coming in next, if we do everything this year, we roll into next year, 600 down from what we've got planned for 26. But I also think it shows, especially at this time, I think it shows that we are committed to continuing to maintain the buildings that were built with the money that the public entrusted us with, and we continue to provide class buildings and activities in those. But I share your concern. I think I also think this has always been a living, breathing document, and, you know, if we need to have a different conversation in December, I think we have that, but I'm supportive of moving forward.
Yeah, I'm supportive of adopting it for 24-25. I understand, you know, we'll know more about what's coming up for 26, especially related to the HVAC replacement. But right now, from the reports we've had from Land and Facilities and from the Budget and Finance, I'm ready to adopt this. So are there any other comments? If not, I'm going to entertain a motion.
All right, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we adopt fiscal year 2024-25 capital improvement program proposed budget.
And a second.
Second.
Okay, Vice Chair Tran, seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. We have 4 opposed. So 4-1, it passes. Thank you, that's a good discussion, and Lance. Now we know we can succeed.
Yeah, to
But your goal, we know what your goal is.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Going on to item 7, verbal reports. We had, I don't know, if you have any other comments? Vice Chair
That's what
Tran?
we brought to
Yeah.
the full board to
Yeah,
discuss.
so that was fine. And also program committee, I think, same
Both,
people,
yeah. Mhm.
you gave your,
We had back-to-back session.
yeah,
So,
yeah. So if there's nothing else you want to bring up on that. And we've got other meetings will be to be determined. Okay, all right, board announcements, item 8, board announcements and requests to staff. And I'll start with Director Glover. Director Bernard.
Oh, I don't have I've been on.
Yeah.
Secretary Works.
Yeah, I just want to give, you know, special thanks to Tom and others who had, you know, kind of made the Park by the Library available for the Bike Family Fest. That was amazing event. The turnout was incredible. And it really highlighted, you know, I think, you know, what we can do with that space. You know, people were kind of coming in and asking, is this where the bike park will be built? And it's like, well, maybe not necessarily, but, you know, we do envision some plans for this area. And, you know, it was a great opportunity to kind of see the potential that, you know, field could bring. So I was very happy that, you know, we supported that event because it did, you know, look really good for the district to come forward for that. And then obviously looking forward to Tinkers and Thinkers this weekend. I'll be out there as well. And yeah, looking forward to a successful event and some of the creative ideas that I saw last year. I'm looking to see if, you know, what sort of new things are going to be around this year. So.
Like popsicle sticks.
Yeah.
Vice Chair Tran.
No feedback.
Yeah, Saturday, you know. Got a ton of stuff in my garage right now, but anyways, yeah, looking forward to the Saturday, for Tinkers and Thinkers. That's consumed my last couple of weeks or so, but that's it for me.
Well, I'm looking forward to tasting the ice cream again. So that will be a lot of fun. We were out of state for the bike event down by the library and our patch of land there, but I saw photos and heard from a lot of people that it was an awesome event. So I'm glad that it went off very well. I think certainly it was excellent weather for it also. And it gave a lot of visibility to that particular area on whatever it's going to be. So we'll see. Okay, don't have anything else. So with that, it is 8:36 and I will adjourn this meeting until September 26th, I believe, is our next meeting. Is that right? Yep. Okay, we're done. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very much. Good to see you. Liz Bonato, glad you're
Yeah.
back. Glad you're back. Good to see you. I didn't know that before. That break we